Pope Leo XIV refused to shake the hand of Karoline Leavitt, and what happened next shocked the entire world. Karoline Leavitt, the youngest rising political star in America, had just flown all the way to Rome to meet the first American pope in history. The cameras were rolling, the world was watching, and she walked up with her hand extended, ready for that perfect photo op. But he doesn't move. He doesn't even stand up. His hands stay folded in his lap. The silence is so thick you could cut it with a knife. Nobody knows what to do. The reporters are frozen. Even the Vatican officials look confused. This wasn't supposed to happen. But before I tell you what really went down in that room, drop a comment and let me know where you're watching from, because this story is about to blow your mind, and I want to see how far it reaches. Now let me paint the picture for you. Just 5 days earlier, this Pope, Leo XIV, stepped out onto the balcony of St. Peter's Basilica, the first American Pope ever chosen, and right from the start, everyone knew he was different. He refused to wear the fancy gold robes, instead, plain, black. He didn't want the ornate bedroom. He chose a tiny room with no decorations, no throne, no crown, nothing. The only crown he acknowledged was the crown of thorns. But don't mistake his humility for weakness. When this man spoke, people listened. So that morning, he's kneeling. Alone in the Sistine Chapel, praying, when a Vatican aide interrupts him. Your Holiness Karoline Leavitt has requested an audience. She's flying to Rome right now. The Pope slowly opens his eyes. The Congresswoman? Yes, she wants to congratulate. You personally. No official diplomatic staff, just her. Now here's where it gets interesting. The Pope dusts off his robes, looks toward the altar and says, "Prepare the room, but this meeting will follow a different protocol." The aide asks, "Should I inform the press?" And the Pope? He just smiles and says, "No need. The world will hear about it soon enough." Meanwhile, 30,000 feet in the air, Karoline Leavitt is on her private jet rehearsing her speech. She's got everything planned out. This isn't just a meeting for her, it's a performance. She wants that handshake on every front page in America. This is an opportunity, she tells her team. Faith, family, leadership, I want that handshake everywhere. Her chief of staff looks nervous. "Mom, this Pope isn't like the others. He's unpredictable." Karoline doesn't even blink. "I'm not here to bow down. I'm here to remind the church that you don't need robes to have conviction." Back in Rome, the news spreads like wildfire. Social media explodes. Youngest American leader confronts first American Pope. Clash or communion. Vatican prepares for surprise guest. The tension is building. They set up the ceremonial hall. Guards posted. Cameras mounted. Chairs arranged perfectly. Pope Leo XIV sits there in simple red and black robes. No gold, no spectacle, nothing fancy. The doors open. Karoline Leavitt walks in, absolutely radiating confidence. The cameras start clicking like crazy. She walks straight up to the Holy Father. "It's my honor to greet you. American to American." And then, nothing. The Pope doesn't move. He doesn't smile. He doesn't reach out. He just looks at her hand, then back into her eyes and keeps his hands, right there in his lap. The silence is deafening. 3 seconds pass. They feel like 3 hours. Karoline slowly pulls her hand back. Her smile stays, but you can see the confusion in her eyes. "I understand," she says quietly. But then the Pope does something nobody expected. He stands up and walks over to a small wooden table off to the side. There's a silver basin, a white towel, and a clay pitcher of water sitting there. Without saying a word, he starts rolling up his sleeves. Then he speaks. "Congresswoman, I didn't come here to exchange gestures for the cameras. I came to offer something deeper." He points to the basin. "If you're willing, I invite you to join me in a ritual far older than nations." The entire room is stunned. The reporters don't know what to do. Her staff looks completely lost. This was supposed to be a simple photo op, and now it's turned into something completely different. Karoline Leavitt stands there, probably thinking, what the hell is happening right now? "Your Holiness," she says, her voice barely above a whisper. "This isn't what I expected." "No," the Pope replies calmly. It isn't what any of us expected. That's exactly why it matters. You could hear a pin drop in that room. The Pope steps aside and motions to the other side of the basin. Leadership isn't found in the strength of our grip, he says, glancing at her still unshaken hand, but in the humility of our touch. Now Karoline's at a crossroads. Every instinct is screaming at her to walk away. This isn't how politics works. She came here to look strong, not to be humbled in front of the world's cameras, but something about his presence, something about his voice. She takes a deep breath and walks to the basin. The press pool loses their minds. Microphones lean forward, cameras zoom in. She's standing opposite the Pope now, and the entire energy in the room has shifted from political theatre to something almost sacred. The Pope lifts the pitcher and starts pouring water into the basin. The sound echoes through the marble chamber, like a bell. In the Gospel of John, he says, his voice gentle but powerful, Jesus washed the feet of those who followed him, not because he had to, but because no true leader is above those they serve. He dips his hands in the water and turns to her. Their eyes lock. The cameras are going crazy, but no words are spoken. She reaches for the towel. And for the first time in her entire public life, Karoline Leavitt, this political firecracker who never backs down from anyone, bends. She takes the Pope's wet hands and dries them with deliberate, careful movements. It's not theatrical. It's not forced. It's completely human. When she finishes, he does the same for her. He washes the hands that have shaken governors, donors, mayors, and veterans, the hands that are used to holding microphones and commanding attention. And in that moment, everything changes. The audience doesn't clap, they don't cheer, they don't immediately run to Twitter, they just watch, because no headline, no poll, no partisan reaction could capture what just happened. The Pope looks to the press, not with annoyance, but with invitation. Now, he says simply, we may speak. Karoline looks down at her hands. They're dry, but they feel completely different, changed. She stands next to the Pope. Her posture is still, straight, but it's not rigid anymore. The cameras roll, the press settles in, and the world watches, knowing something incredible just unfolded, something none of them planned, something maybe none of them fully understood yet. But they would. As the journalists get ready with their notepads and recorders, there's this strange quiet in the room. The tension that was building toward confrontation has turned into something else entirely. A French reporter stands up first. Your Holiness, the world just witnessed you refuse the Congresswoman's handshake. Was this a message of disapproval? Pope Leo XIV doesn't even hesitate. No, it was a message of meaning. We live in a world where gestures are performed for applause, where rituals are hollowed out by repetition. I refuse the handshake not to dishonour her, but to invite her into something greater. Karoline stays quiet beside him, but her face has completely changed. Less armour, more awareness. A Reuters journalist speaks up. Congresswoman, were you offended? She turns to the room. I was surprised but not offended. I came expecting protocol. Instead, I received perspective. Another hand shoots up. Was this moment rehearsed? Did you both plan this symbolism? The Pope almost smiles. If we had, it would have lost its power. No, this was not orchestrated. It was offered and she accepted. Karoline exhales quietly. There's a difference between being caught off guard and being given an opportunity. What he offered was unsettling, but honest. And honesty is rare in politics. The reporters are leaning in now. This isn't the firebrand congresswoman they expected, and this definitely isn't the traditional Pope inside. Fancy robes. Someone from the back calls out, Your Holiness. Some say your gesture undermined her as a leader, that this was dominance, not humility. The Pope turns toward the speaker. If humility feels like dominance, perhaps the world has misunderstood both. Silence. Then a slower question. Why water? Why this specific ritual? The Pope raises his hand slightly, because water purifies, because it humbles, and because it binds. In every sacred text, water is the first sign of creation, the first tool of renewal. If we cannot stand at the same basin, we cannot lead from the same well. Karoline looks down at her hands again, then speaks up. I didn't come here expecting to be humbled, and I don't always agree with the church on everything, but today reminded me of something my grandfather used to say.